Good afternoon and welcome here to the Pocono Raceway for tonight's Pocono 150. My name is Robert Hill Jr. Joining me in the booth is Matthew Weeks. Matthew, how you doing tonight, my friend?
I'm doing good, man. Ready to watch some good old racing at Pocono, man. It's gonna be good.
Definitely gonna be a good one here tonight. 60 laps on the docket for these drivers. 4 sets of tires, halfway point at the end of lap number 30. As we take a look at the starting grid here tonight, it's Joe Francis on the pole with Chris Wright to his outside. Row number 2, Tate Lytle, Matt Gruenberg with JP Phillips rounding out the top 5. Tom Bourne, Chad Frankenfield, fresh off the Indy 500 win, going to start 7th. The late Norgard 8th. James Miller and Jeff Ryan, the top 10. Donald Kite and Gavin Higgins going to round out row number 6. Row 7 tonight will belong, well, we'll go back to row 7. It's jumping on us a little bit there. It's going to be Dylan Avere and Zach Evans with Jeff Green rounding up the top 15. Dustin Dewar, Matt Hackathorn going to make up row number 8 with Seth Rawls, Josh Adams, and Austin and Abnett, the rest of the top 20. 21st is Jaden Racimus. 22nd, Frank Foti. 23rd, Michael Hossack, with Caleb Pecumer and Brent Jones rounding out the top 25. Neil Rutt, fresh off a modified victory in the real world this weekend, going to start 26th. Dave Carpenter, 27th. Connor Thompson, Randy McAvoy, and Andrew Hardcastle, your top 30, with Sam Boutwell, Mitch Shavir, and Ty McIntosh going to round out the field in 33rd. He was very quick in practice, just did not get the qualifying run he was hoping for here tonight. Jordan McAvoy, a latecomer to the race, will roll off 34th. As the field rolls out onto the racetrack, what's the keys to victory here tonight, Matthew?
Be consistent, stay up front. Track position is really key here. It's kind of hard to pass, especially with the long straights in the draft. So you just want to have good position all race long.
Positioning definitely going to be key this race. Not the easiest place to make the passes on, especially as those tires wear out. The walls come up a lot quicker than you might anticipate. Here's the field is now out there on the circuit, going to work their way down towards turn number 2. We'll lose the pace car here shortly and get us underway. Joe Francis, Chris Wright, once again on the front row. Thanks for joining us here this evening, everybody, for Stay Tuned Sports Truck Series action from the Pocono Mountains. It's going to be one heck of a good show here. Shout out to Dave Huckleberry, not able to join us tonight. He's up in Chicago on a little bit of business. I'm sure he's tuned in anyways. But Matthew, before we get going here, who's your pick to get it done tonight?
I'm biased here, but I got to go with my Pro Edge teammate, Tate, man. He shows up in these truck races, and he's always fast.
It might be biased being your teammate, but at the same time, it is a very, very solid pick. I'm going to go with a guy that I battled for a championship with many years ago, the 17 of Matt Gruenberg. So we're both going to go here from row number 2. And speaking of going, it's time. The pace car's off. We're getting set to go green here this time. Joe Francis on the loud pedal, and we're underway here at Pocono.
Chad did peak 3 wide right there, but he bailed out of it. I wouldn't. Oh, maybe 4 wide going into turn 1.
Yeah, this is going to get interesting as you have James Miller down on the inside of Chad Frankenfield. Frankenfield going to slide up there. That's Tom Bourne up on the high side. Bourne, the independent driver in the 61, a former frontrunner of our Daytona 500, as Matt Hackathorn going to go around, and we're going to be under caution for the first time here tonight. Let's take a look and see what happened there to Matt Hackathorn. Issues for him rather early in this one. Lap number 1, Hackathorn going to go around. He was there around the 15th position. Watch that yellow truck on the bottom of your screen. You're going to see he's got Dustin Dewar up on the high side. Seth Rawls behind him. Yeah, Hackathorn just going to lose it by himself at the bottom of turn number 1. Slides down the racetrack, then slides back up. Nobody else collected, but going to be pretty easy work there for race control tonight. That would most likely be a solo spin tally on the 48 of Matt Hackathorn.
Yeah, definitely. And at least no one got damaged, and he didn't get damaged, so he can just rebound from that and try to get a good finish from it.
Exactly. It's going to be something he could definitely bounce back on. And just a quick note here, your track temperature this evening, 110 degrees Fahrenheit. Not the hottest that we've seen, so not too bad there for these drivers at 110 degrees Fahrenheit. 2 laps in, 58 to go. Nobody's really been able to move much as of yet. Ty McIntosh up 5 spots on lap number 1. Of course, mentioned that he was one of the quickest trucks in practice today. Did not get a good qualifying effort, so had to start at the tail of the field. So he is going to have his work cut out for him. Jordan McAvoy started the race 1 lap down, was not here for the grid, so that number 23 machine going to have to work his way up from being a lap down. He's hoping for another quick caution to get back on that lead lap.
And going back to Ty on his back key run, that's bad for him too. He needs a good run because he's in the battle for the regular season championship right now. I think they're separate, him and the point leader Gruenberg and somebody else separated by like 9 points.
Yeah, you look at it there, Matt Grunberg, 233 points. He leads by just 8 over Ty McIntosh and 9 over Gavin Higgins. And speaking of Gavin Higgins, I don't think he had the greatest qualifying runs either. No, he started 12th, still back there in the 12th spot, so no gains on the opening lap for Gavin Higgins. But as right now, Matt Grunberg definitely feeling good about spreading that points lead just a little bit more. And another battle to watch here is the rookie battle. Of course, Matt Grunberg has run away with that one by quite a bit, but James Miller, Dylan Javier, and Matt Hackathorn, amongst a couple others, Jaden Racimus and Jordan McAvoy, battling it out for the second position in those rookie points. We'll see what they're able to do here in the closing stages of the regular season. Lights are still on the iRacing.com pace car, so long pace laps here at the Pocono Raceway.
Always. Every time we come here, it feels like these take forever when we're pacing.
Yeah, it's definitely not the quickest. You look at Joe Francis. We'll pull up the dashboard here just for reference. He's going about 70 miles per hour, which you compare at some points on the track, they're doing upwards of 200 miles per hour. It's a huge difference from race pace for these drivers, and it's just very boring when you're pacing and pacing. So hopefully for their sake, hopefully for your sake at home, we're able to keep it fairly green here tonight and have some good racing all around. These drivers definitely looking to get kicked off on the right foot and see what they can do here. Just a quick look as well at the season so far. Ty McIntosh, the only multi-time winner on the year, picking up victories at Daytona and Kern County throughout the season. James Miller, winner at Worldwide Technology Raceway Road Course. Tyler Fody at Darlington, his only elite victory this season. By the way, that driver looking for a bit more here this week. Atlanta went to JP Phillips. RC Anderson won at Legacy Atlanta Oval. Sonoma went to Tate Lytle, and Martinsville went to Gavin Higgins. So we have Pocono today, Stafford next week, and then Talladega on November the 10th to round out the regular season. Then we'll head into round number 1, Bristol, Charlotte, and Nashville Super Speedway, before we wrap it all up on December 15th at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. So these drivers, a bit of a variety of tracks still to come this season, and it's been a good one here so far. Lights are finally off on the pace car as we head our way down the back straightaway between turns number 1 and 2. Joe Francis, Chris Wright going to lead us back to the green flag. Tate Lytle, Matt Grunberg, JP Phillips, the top 5. And a driver to watch on this restart, as he is on most restarts, will be the 15 of Chad Frankenfield. Definitely not afraid to sling it into the corner, even if it's a very high-risk opportunity. So we'll see what that driver does on the upcoming restart.
Yeah, which is scary early on in the race, making those moves, because I know a lot of the guys that's been here all season don't want a guy that doesn't show up as much to put them in a bad spot that could really end their day.
No, definitely not something you want. And especially so close to the playoffs, you don't necessarily want those guys that aren't the regulars stepping in, kind of stepping on your toes a bit, and causing the drama out here on the racetrack, because we're going to work our way through turns number 3. There's that Coca-Cola sign I was on top of for trucks at Pocono earlier this year. That is quite high up, by the way. Looking down at this racetrack, it's a cool view. As the pace car heads off, we're getting set to go green this time into the Geico restart zone. Joe Francis, Chris Wright, and we're back underway. Joe Francis with a great launch there. Chris Wright sleeping a bit. He's going to have Grunberg taking a look to the middle. Chad taking a look up to the high side as Tate Lytle going to get by Chris Wright. He'll work his way up to second, and he's going to be looking for more here into turn number 1. Lytle takes a look to the high side of Francis. Not quite able to get there that time. Tight there between Grunberg and Wright. Grunberg slaps off the side of Wright, slides down to the inside of the track, and he'll gather it back up in the 5th spot as Frankenfield could have updraft Chris Wright down towards turn number 2.
Ty making move back there in the midfield, 3 wide and tone turn. Oh man, that's so scary. Oh, almost. Woo!
Wow.
These boys are putting it on the line tonight. They are trying to get up there and get that track position.
A little bit of bump drafting there from Neil Wright on Ty McIntosh as well, as these drivers all duking it out for position. You see there Matt Gruenberg just getting clear of JP Phillips. James Miller got up into that top 5, so he was able to clear as Jeff Ryan battles it out with the late Norgard. Last week's winner Gavin Higgins there with Josh Adams. Dustin Doer up there as well. This is the kind of track where we're going to see battles all throughout the race here. If it's at the front, if it's at the back, it's in the middle, there's going to be action each and every inch of this racetrack.
Yeah, all the time. And it's going to be games because tire wear comes into play, drafting comes into play, then you got the corners where you got to slow down. It's like all kinds of different types of racing in this track.
Yeah, and you're going to see those various aggression levels as well, as Chad Frankenfield takes a look to the inside of Chris Wright. Chris, not necessarily known to give a ton of space on the inside. He's going to race you hard. He's going to try to race you clean, but we'll take a look back up ahead of them as Tate Lytle was taking a peek there on Joe Francis. James Miller took a look down to the inside of Frankenfield. This could be a good battle. 3 wide, just about down into turn number 1. Miller not quite able to get there as Chris Wright and Chad Frankenfield nearly together. Frankenfield sliding. Oof, he gathers it back up, but now James Miller kind of stuck in a predicament here. Tom Bourne and James Miller took a look to the inside. Matt Gruenberg there as well. JP Phillips up in the fight. Jeff Ryan there as well. So one little mistake can bring everyone together.
Yeah, it looked like a little bit of net code right there on the entry between Chris and Chad. They got Chad a little loose. But other than that, man, we keep trucking, no damage, and we keep rolling.
That's right. Keep on trucking as you see Josh Adams there to the outside of the 10 of Jeff Ryan. Always cool to see those good wrench throwbacks there. Is the, I think it says Juicy Spider on Josh Adams' car. That's interesting anyways, as he goes to the inside of JP Phillips. They're going to battle it out for the 8th position. Adams trying to work his way forward by that 34 of Phillips. Phillips falling backwards. He's down 4 spots on the day. Adams up 11 already. That's tied for the biggest mover here so far with Ty McIntosh, who's up to the 22nd position. So he is just about to work his way into the top 20 as you see some battles behind him. Caleb Pecumer, Brent Jones duking it out. But up front, new leader Tate Lytle was able to clear Joe Francis, and he's starting to pull away a bit. 0.3 of a second separating first and second here on lap number 8.
Yeah, once Tate gets that clean air, man, he turns into a different animal, and he just logs laps just consistently. So good at it.
I mean, there's a reason he's a multi-time champion in just about every series. He's very experienced and knows what he's doing. He's not afraid to make the moves, and most times they work out for him, as he has cleared Joe Francis. But now Joe's got Chris Wright closing the gap up to him. It's about 10th and a half separating second and third. Here's Wright up to third. Francis there in second. Frankenfield up to 4th by Gruenberg, as Gruenberg has Miller just behind him. These drivers have been rivals for quite some time, actually teammates now with AVPW here in the Elite Racing League. But back in the 3-wide racing days, Gruenberg, Miller, myself, a couple other drivers, Johnny Thomas, duked it out each and every week. So good to see these guys still going at it. Speaking of going at it as well, Zach Evans, Dylan Avere, Austin and Abnett, and Donald Kite all together here. That is from 16th through 19th. You throw Frank Fody into that mix as well. So most of the Lake Norman Motorsports team back here in 18th, 19th, and 20th, with the exception of Chris Wright up there in 3rd, who's trying to get by the Joe Francis machine, the aggressive Eagle driver in the 35, currently holding on to 2nd.
Yeah, Chris is looking strong early in this run. You brought up Adams, see if they can drive up to the field. I always forget Adams drives the truck for him to leave the absence for a while. It's good to get back on track. Making moves, he looks fast. There's a lot of fast trucks that started in the back, making their way up there.
Ty getting by Jaden Racimus here, about to put himself up into that 21st position. Jaden, another one of those drivers, has not necessarily had the success yet, but he's shown a lot of improvement over the last couple of years. When he first hit the track, he himself would admit he was a bit of a weapon but now he's a driver that you kind of know what he's going to do. He's predictable with his moves, and he races smart. So good to see a guy like Jaden working his way up through these lower series like the ARCA series now here in trucks, and continuing that climb up through. As you know, you mentioned Josh Adams as well. That's a driver, of course, a winner of many big races here, and an elite champion as well, stepping back into the trucks full time and doing a really nice job here so far. Up 10 positions, currently sitting in 9th as he's on that climb forward and doing a nice job. He's got Tom Bourne, who also very good to see him back here in elite. He stepped away for a couple years, going to race in another league, and now finding his way back to elite and currently running strong in that 8th spot.
Yeah, it's good to see him back. And touch on Josh Adams again. You know, he had something, I won't go into details about it, but something happened to him, and then he missed a long period of time of racing. So I feel like him coming back and getting back in the trucks and working his way back up, it's like getting your feet wet again, you know, trying to start from the beginning. And he's getting better every single week, and he's like he's getting his groove back weekly.
And I think it's really important that Josh is out here. Like you mentioned, he had some personal reasons that he was away, and we're glad to see him back here and doing really strong. So it's like riding a bike again after a while. You pick it up really quick, and all of a sudden you're right back at it. And just a quick shout out, by the way, over on the YouTube chat. We got our good friend. Well, we'll hold off on that, Wester Green. I was going to shout you out, but these guys not doing too good at the back. Jaden Racimus, Sam Boutwell involved. We'll take a look and see what just happened here. Ooh. Sam slides up, gets into the side of that yellow truck. I think that's Matt Hackathorn in the 48. Yes, it was. He's going to collect Dave Carpenter as well. As actually Carp kind of drives into the back of him as he was trying to gather it up, Sam Boutwell. How did Jaden Racimus get involved in this one, though? Was that a separate incident? It was. Yeah. So the caution triggered off of Boutwell, but McIntosh and Racimus make a little bit of contact there, coming off of, I believe that was turn number 1. That's going to send Jaden down into the wall. And then you see the incident there with Sam Boutwell and Dave Carpenter. That'll put us under caution for the second time here tonight on lap number 13. And at this point, these drivers do have 4 sets of tires, so they might be thinking of coming down, grabbing a set here. We'll see what they opt to do here momentarily.
Yeah, I think some of these guys probably stay out.
I think you're going to see a mix.
Make it to halfway. But I think there would be a mix because there is some tire wear at this track.
For sure. If you drive turn number 1 too hard here, you're going to tear those tires up pretty darn good. And then, of course, turn 2, driving like turn 3 at Indianapolis, it can be a bit sketchy, as it looks like Tate Lytle currently indicating that he's coming down pit road. That does not mean he's going to, but yes, he will. So Tate Lytle going to lead the field down pit road. Chris Wright, Matt Grunberg, James Miller, Josh Adams, Donald Kite, and Dustin Dewar going to stay out, but Lytle, Francis, Frankenfield, Phillips, and company all down pit road here. Matt Hackathorn also going to stay out on the racetrack. Of course, he had his earlier incident, so has already been down pit road. We'll see who wins the race off. Joe Francis with the advantage of that first box. Tate Lytle just behind him. Lytle got into the box first. His left side's going to go up here before Francis, so Lytle should win the race off of pit lane. But no, it's going to be Joe Francis. So Francis, Lytle, and Frankenfield, the top 3 off of pit road here on lap number 14. We're going to step aside. We'll be right back. It's the Pocono 150 on the Elite Racing Network.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Since 2010, race fans have had one burning question. When will the Xfinity Series return to Worldwide Technology Raceway? You asked, NASCAR delivered. On Saturday, September 6, 2025, the magic is back. The track that launched the legendary careers of Harvick, Busch, Keselowski, Edwards, and Earnhardt Jr. is now ready to write that next chapter. We're going to introduce you to a new crop of future champions and Hall of Famers. And in the process, we'll create more of the greatest moments in racing history. NASCAR Weekend 2025, the NASCAR Cup Series Championship Playoffs, the Confluence Music Festival, and now 250 miles of the NASCAR Xfinity Series. 2 incredible races, 1 challenging track, a 3-day party of epic proportions. Go to www.raceway.com and lock in your weekend racing and camping packages for as little as $20 down.
And we're back here at the Pocono Raceway, working caution number 2, a quarter of the way into this one, 15 laps down, 45 to go. Chris Wright, Matt Gruenberg leading us back to the green flag. A handful of drivers did come down pit road under that last caution. Joe Francis going to be the first on those new tires. He's going to line up in the 8th position, so outside of row number 4. Pace cars off, coming back green here this time. Chris Wright with a great jump. Matt Gruenberg a bit slow on that restart. He's going to fall back side by side with Josh Adams. As already you're seeing drivers take a look to the inside. Tate Lytle going to be one of those to go deepest down to the bottom. He's got the 34. JP Phillips right there with him. Matt Hackathorn, a Leighton Norgard, Chad Frankenfield working their way up there. Frankenfield looks to be one of those guys able to take advantage of Lytle falling back a bit on that 3-wide attempt. But out front, Chris Wright, Josh Adams, Matt Gruenberg, the top 3.
Yeah, it looked like Tate just blocked, I think it was JP Phillips, blocked the 4-wide move. He didn't want to go 4-wide into turn 1.
I don't blame him.
Same. I would have done the same thing.
Absolutely, yeah. I definitely don't blame him for that. You don't want to go 4-wide here. Tate's going to work his way up. He's going to try to get by Dustin Doer here. Doer currently holding on to the 7th. Wow, this is a gaggle of cars right here around Tom McIntosh. He is in a cluster of race cars. That's the 10 of Jeff Ryan, the 57 of Dylan Avere, the 20 of Gavin Higgins. All there is you see a Leighton Norgard taking a peek down to the inside, trying to take a look to the inside of JP Phillips, Tom Bourne, and Matt Hackathorn right there ahead of them. Chris Wright doing a nice job leading the way. He's got a slight gap over his good buddy Josh Adams, who currently holds on to 2nd. Joe Francis on those new tires. That's your pole sitter. He's back up to the 3rd spot and looking for more here. So Joe Francis, I would anticipate, will be the race leader within the next couple of laps here, unless something catastrophic happens, which is always possible, as Josh Adams dives down to the inside of Chris Wright. They're going to be side by side through turn number 2 as they're going to work their way around here. Adams inside. That was turn 3, actually, as caution's out, and it's going to be a big one. Leighton Norgard, Jeff Ryan, Dylan Avere, Sam Boutwell, Austin Anabnett, Randy McAvoy, Mitch Shavir, Jaden Racimus, all involved in this one. So caution number 3 quickly displayed, and we'll take a look and see what just happened. Something tells me it's going to kick off around a Leighton Norgard. You see him in the middle there, Jeff Ryan on the bottom. Netcode might come into play. He just kind of got pinched in the middle. You see the 57 of Avir coming down. Jeff Ryan coming up a little bit. A late Norgard bouncing up into Avir, down to Ryan. Everyone going to come together. And Nabnet just along for the ride there. Zach Evans, I think, is going to get a piece of this one too. No, he's going to get by, but lots of trucks involved here towards the back, scattering, trying to avoid it. But we're going to ride on board with Austin and Nabnet. I think he had a great view of this incident, as we'll go in car with the 60 of an Abnett down towards turn number 3. So Norgard gets into the side of Dylan Javier, then down into Jeff Ryan, and here is where an Abnett is gonna get hooked. Oh man. He's almost on his side. Dave Carpenter gonna sneak through, I think. So we'll go on board with Carp as well. A couple of these drivers definitely having wild rides through this one.
Yeah, looking at it, they were just really close. And a Leighton and who's a Javier really never touched. It was just a little slight netcode with tight racing that kind of got a Leighton sideways. And then it was just on from there.
Definitely tight between those guys. It was 3 cars in about 2 1/4 lanes. So something's got to give, and unfortunately for them, it was all 3 trucks getting involved in that incident. A couple others involved in that one as well. We'll take a quick gander down to pit road. You see a late Norgard fairly heavily damaged down there. We'll send the drone down to take a couple peeks for us. As you see a late Norgard getting the rear end pop back out. Dylan Javier kind of crumpled up. Austin and Abnett, he doesn't look too bad, but he definitely took a wild ride. Jaden Racimus still dealing with some earlier damage, as is Sam Powell and Jeff Ryan. But otherwise, I think everyone's going to be okay to continue on here when we do go green again.
I'm sorry, could you say that again?
I said I think everyone's going to be okay to continue on when we go green again. There's nobody looking too heavily damaged on pit road. Obviously, a couple of them with some decent damage, but I don't think anything terminal.
Yeah, I agree. I'm hoping Zach didn't get nothing because he's had a rough couple of weeks here in the trucks.
He didn't even come down pit road, so he must be feeling okay.
Oh yeah, he just missed it. Good stuff.
Yeah, definitely good to see Zach Evans. And you mentioned he just missed it. Let's take a look. We'll see how close that Me Fine machine was to getting involved. That's the 06 of Zach Evans. You see him, that orange truck right there. Wow. So he kind of gets lucky that Austin and Abnett gets cleared out the way that he does. Otherwise, he likely would have been involved in that one. So Zach Evans, he's fine at this point in the Me Fine machine. And now I'm going to get to the shout out I was going to give earlier. Shout out to David Westergreen. He's here cheering on his drivers, Neil Rutt and Zach Evans. So good to see those guys having some half decent runs here tonight. Neil Rutt currently sitting 17th. Zach Evans just ahead of him actually in the 15th spot. So those drivers having good days here so far. And while we're under this caution, just a quick shout out to a couple of our partners. Of course, Stay Tuned Sports Podcast. Stay Tuned Sports was started in 2016 by 2 friends, even though hating each other's teams, with the purpose of producing a sports show like no other. They wanted to create a show that would cover all major sports with a little bit of comedy mixed in. Stay Tuned Sports releases weekly episodes covering NFL, NHL, MLB, and even some college football. So if you're looking for some hot takes mixed in with some good ball busting, then this is the show for you. Stay Tuned Sports, your home for sports nonsense. And of course, Blue Egg Marketing. Rev up your business with Blue Egg, your marketing pit crew. Turbocharge your lead generation with experienced drivers that can navigate the competitive track to connecting with your customers. With Blue Egg, you're always in the pole position, leading your brand toward victory lane. Don't spin your wheels. Accelerate success with Blue Egg, fueling small businesses to win big. And 4D Racewear, makers of the ultimate sim racing shoes and custom apparel designed for sim racing by sim racers. 40 sim racing shoes are custom engineered to connect racers to the pedals in a way no other racing shoe can, while still providing all the comfort needed for the double and triple stints. Visit 40racewear.com and check out the original racing gloves for your feet. Coming back to the green flag here, we're back underway. Chris Wright leads us back to the green flag with Josh Adams to his outside, Matt Grunberg, Joe Francis, James Miller, the rest of your top 5, as the field heads down into turn number 1 for the first time here on lap number 21. So a third of the way through this one, you see the 15 of Chad Frankfield, the kicking the tires entry, working his way up through the field. We got a truck into the outside wall back there. I believe that to be one of the Javiers. And actually, no, it's Caleb Pecumer that's going to fall his way back through the field. That's very tight on his inside. Jordan McAvoy getting a little bit bent out of shape there. He'll gather it back up as out front. Adams leads, but Joe Francis trying to get by Chris Wright in the battle for the second spot. Wright going to fall back tight behind him as well. Frankenfield and Gruenberg duking it out. As, wow, somebody absolutely cooking the high lane there. That was the 61 of Tom Bourne, going higher than just about anybody else has been here so far tonight.
Yeah, I think that was the highest I've seen someone run turn 3 in the truck. That was insane. And I don't know how these guys are wanting to go 3 wide in the tunnel turn. That's the scariest place to even be 2 wide.
These guys are crazy. They're truckers, man. They do some crazy stuff out here.
It looked like Tom Bourne clapped the wall out of 1 there.
Well, it doesn't surprise me with the lane that he's running and how tight they're racing back here as well. Dustin Dewar just ahead of Tate Lytle down there on the bottom. Looks like Tate going to try to get the nose in there. Not quite able to do it as of yet. He's still got to clear Tom Bourne, who's having a good run up top. That battle ahead of them as well, continuing, just about to finish, though, as Frankenfield looks like he's going to clear Matt Gruenberg. Gruenberg going to fall back into the 5th spot. Frankfield up to 4th as Tate dips all the way down to the bottom. He's going to try to get by Dustin Dewar as they head towards turn number 1. Tate's going to stick the nose in there. They're going to be door to door as they enter that first turn. Matt Hackathorn just behind them. So really solid recovery for Matt Hackathorn, and great drive here so far by Tate Lytle, trying to rebound and work his way back up there towards the front as the pit strategy came into play a little bit earlier and stuck him a bit deeper in the field than he would have liked.
Yeah, and it's always scary with the mixed tire strategies, trying to pass these guys, and you don't really know who's a little bit slower, who's on the fresh tires with you. You're just trying to be smooth and not overheat your tires while making these moves as well.
That's exactly it. The heat cycle is definitely going to come into play in this one, as you see Tate once again taking a deep dive. They're going to be 3 wide. Tom Bourne up top, James Miller in the middle, Tate Lytle on the bottom. Miller going to maybe bounce off Bourne there, or just got a little loose off of 4. Lytle down on the bottom as the driver that's really falling through the field here, Caleb Pecumer, back here now with Mitch Javier and Jordan McAvoy. That's your battle 23rd, 24th, 25th. Pecumer into the outside wall a little bit earlier, has fallen, but up front, new leader Joe Francis going to get cleared there of Josh Adams, as Adams back to 2nd. Frankenfield up to 3rd, so he's cleared Chris Wright. He's looking for a bit more, riding the wave of momentum after Indy. We'll see what Chad can do here.
That 61 truck is ripping the outside wall. He is showing Tate that you can run this outside and make moves. I think he's passed the last 6 trucks just running out there.
He's definitely running higher than anybody else here. Tom Bourne currently holding on to 5th, as looks like Brent Jones having a bit of a blinking issue back there in the mid-20s, kind of blinking off and on the scoring pylon there, so definitely a bit unnerving for the drivers around him, as Frankenfield takes a huge dive into turn number 1. He's going to clear Josh Adams, so move Chad Frankenfield. He's kicking the tires all the way up to 2nd, as he's going to try to chase down the numbers by Joe 35 and Joe Francis. Here comes the snaking that we expected to see down the back straightaway. Francis swerving left, right, trying to cut off the air, put a bit more dirty air on the nose there of Chad Frankenfield as he runs in that 2nd spot. You're seeing drivers dip down to the inside back here as well. That's JP Phillips, one of those drivers that was in the top 10 earlier, now looking for a bit more as he battles it out here with Gavin Higgins down on the inside. That's for 11th and 12th. They got Seth Rawls just up the road from them, as there goes JP Phillips.
Into the...
I think he just nailed the barrels, didn't he?
He hit the barrels.
Oh man, Frank Foti also gonna be involved in this one. Let's take a look. I could just tell how that was gonna go for JP Phillips. That's not a spot you want to lose it. You could see right there through turn number 3, gets a bit loose, gets into Gavin Higgins. Oh no. Oh man, and it grabs onto him too. Oh. Sorry, JP, but we gotta go on board. That's just violent. You see the barrels coming here. Oh. And the barrels at some of these tracks just grab onto the truck and are not forgiving whatsoever. Frank Foti also got involved in this one. Let's take a look at how he was involved. Oh. Okay. That was entirely separate, but something we're seeing a bit of a trend of here, and Tyler Foti might want to figure this out real quick. More Lake Norman on Lake Norman violence here, as it's Frank Foti getting involved with the 59 and Caleb Pecumer. So Foti going to go around, Pecumer able to clear. Frank should be okay, but we're seeing a lot more of this inter-team squabbling at Lake Norman. Definitely not something you want to see, as Joe Francis playing the sneaky game there. He leads Chad Frankenfield and James Miller down pit road. Mac Ruenberg coming down as well. Chris Wright had a bit of an issue. Not sure what happened to him. Oh, he's having a blinking issue. That's what that is. So a couple of these guys already down pit road for the second time here tonight, including Chad Frankenfield. We are approaching the halfway point. Yes, they have 3 sets of tires waiting in the pits, but I don't think I'd want to have just 1 set left with still more than half the race to go.
Yeah.
I mean, especially me.
I'd like to have an extra set. I wouldn't have. The guys that stayed out earlier in the race are sitting good right now.
Oh, 100%, because they got that extra bonus set for the end. I mean, you look at it right now, Josh Adams, Chris Wright, 2nd and 3rd on the racetrack. They have not been down pit road at all yet. Neither has Donald Kite, who currently sits in that 8th position. Those are the only 3 drivers that have not visited pit road. A couple drivers have been down a few times, including Chad Frankenfield, who I really don't like that decision of coming down and taking the extra set, like I said, but we'll see how it pays off. As of right now, I think guys like Josh and Chris are in pretty good spots, but at the same time, I probably would have come down this time and grabbed those tires, because you're not going to carry 2 additional sets from here through to the end. I just don't see that really coming into play.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Like, if you pit earlier, took that set, I would have waited until at least 40 to put your next set on. And
For
the
sure.
guy that stayed out earlier, pit now, because I think you can make it if you play your cards right and it goes green. You can make it to the end, I think, on your fuel.
Well, they definitely would be able to. Otherwise, they would have come down now, because we're just about the halfway point. Working lap 28 will go green on lap number 29, so about 32 lap run to the end. You're not staying on now if you only have 3 laps of fuel or so left, so they got to at least have probably 10 laps, maybe 15 laps of fuel remaining at this point. Yeah, I definitely would have come down, but now we're gonna have to watch that second row. Tate Lytle gonna restart on the outside of Chris Wright. Tom Bourne and Seth Rawls gonna make up the 3rd row. So Joe Francis, he's in a great spot on the inside, and I like that decision to take the inside lane as well. You're gonna have older tires on Josh Adams on the outside, holding up guys like Tate and Seth, trying to work their way through. Chris Wright on the bottom behind you, also working as a bit of a blocker. So kind of putting a barrier between yourself and those drivers that are very capable of keeping up, if not passing you, within a couple of laps. So we'll see what works out here for Joe Francis, and we'll see how strategy comes into play here on this upcoming restart.
Yeah, definitely. And then to go back on that crash with Frank Fody going into turn 3. He actually got hit in the back bumper, and he was trying to catch it the whole time. He was just sideways trying to save his car through the entire
Oh
corner.
man. Yeah, that's just unfortunate. It's really unfortunate that came into play. And Frank Fody back out there on the racetrack. The back of the field kind of a little jumbled as they were just about 3 wide there. Randy McAvoy, Frank Fody, and Jeff Green. But up front, looks like we're getting set to go green once again. Fred, the pace car driver, going to head pit side here momentarily. Barney, the flag man, going to have that green flag in hand as we work our way down the front straightaway towards the start-finish line. Joe Francis with a great launch. We're back underway. Josh Adams, not so good of a launch on the outside of row number 1, exactly as expected. And Tate Lytle already taking a peek to the high side. Not quite able to get there as the hole going to close up rather rapidly. Chris Wright up to second. Adams back to third. Tom Bourne, Tate Lytle side by side for 4th and 5th as we're wrecking in the back.
Yeah.
Dave
I can
Carpenter
hear the
involved.
frustration in the driver's chat already with these yellows.
Yeah, it's hard. When you can't get a rhythm, it sucks. And we're watching Dave Carpenter here at the rear. This is going to start well ahead of him up there with Mitch Javier. So we'll jump up to Mitch. That black truck in the middle. Is this more Norman on Norman? Yes, it is. And oh no, Chad's going to be okay. He'll sneak through. I thought he was going to get involved again. James Miller going to be involved on the bottom. We'll back this up one more time. Just see if we can get a bit of a better glance at it. Yeah, you see Mitch Javier in the middle. Caleb Pecumer up top. Javier slides up into Pecumer, down to the side of Frankenfield, and across the nose of James Miller. Zach Evans going to avoid it. Dave Carpenter going to hammer on the brakes to try to sneak through as well, but caution out again for the 5th time. Lake Norman once again beating each other up. They've turned into their own worst enemies here lately in the Elite Racing League. Tyler Fody, get your act together, brother. Your boys are not having a good time.
I think we need to have a big driver meeting over at the Lake Norman.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely, absolutely. We'll bring in Dave Westergreen, man. He's like a consultant over there at Lake Norman. He'll have to whip those guys into shape and make sure that they're not acting up as much. And you know what? Let's do this. We're gonna go ahead and bring in Tyler Fody. Hey Tyler, it's Robert and Matthew up here in the booth. You got a copy?
Oh Jesus. Yeah, we're kind of running through some pit stop stuff, but what's up?
What's going on with this Norman on Norman violence here lately? It's last 2 cautions have involved 2 of your trucks getting into it together.
Yeah, well, the first one was we were already wrecking with other people, so I wouldn't say that. But yeah, I was telling Mitch pretty much the whole caution, like without a doubt, I will put everything on it. Chad's gonna take you 3 wide, and
oh, there's no doubt on that.
Yeah. So yeah, so Mitch was ready to kind of give him space there. I don't think Caleb, after just talking with him, got the 3 wide call till like right as they entered. Kind of got crowded in there. Looked a little netcody, which has kind of been the theme tonight with some of the contact I've been seeing. But Mitch is all right. I don't think anyone really got too hurt there. But yeah, just Pocono racing. So track position's really hard to get right now, so everyone's fighting for it, as you saw there with Chad. But yeah, and as far as the other 2 guys, unfortunately got into another netcode 3 wide wreck caution or 2 ago, and they're getting repairs done here. So we'll see what happens. We got Chris flying the flag right now. I don't think he's pit yet, so
he is not.
Could get interesting.
What's your thoughts on that as a driver first, and then as a team owner? What's your thoughts on this strategy? It's a bit different.
Well, I'll be the first to tell you.
I mean, Chris is very different, of course. So
yeah, no, I was telling Chris to pit on that call, but he was like, no, just trust me here. So right now he's doing good. He's in second, but tires are starting to get closer, so we'll see. As a driver, I don't know. At that point, I probably would have just gone with the leader, but Chris is doing his own thing, and so far it's working out. we'll see what happens here.
We all know he's an interesting fella and likes to do things in his own ways, so we'll see how it works out for him. What's your outlook for the rest of the race for your boys? You think we're going to see Lake Norman in victory lane?
That would be cool. We're going to need some stuff to happen, but I'd like to see a few cars in the top 10. That would be good.
All right, Tyler, we'll get you back down to those boys. Make sure that they stay off of each other here, and we're going to have a good finish for Lake Norman tonight.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
That was Tyler Fody, the president of Lake Norman Motorsports, after a couple of Lake Norman on Lake Norman acts of violence here throughout the evening. And as he mentioned, Chris Wright up in the second spot, has not pit yet himself in second, Josh Adams in third, and Donald Kite in the sixth position. All three drivers have not yet visited pit road. We'll see how it pays off here. Already past the halfway point. Going to be 24 laps to go. Or no, more than that, 27 laps to go when we go back to the green flag, this time by Francis Wright, Bourne, Adams, and Rawls, the top five as they head down the back straightaway.
Which I'm surprised that they didn't pit, because once they do pit, I'm sure a lot of trucks are going to stay out and they're going to lose a lot of track position. And it's going to be so hard to get back.
I mean, we've seen it with Tate Lytle trying to work his way up. Actually, Tate fallen very far back. He's back there in the 26th position, so he's been back down pit road for a second time here tonight. And that's a guy that always has the great speed. We've seen it so far tonight, but he's struggled himself to get back up there towards the front. So we'll see how it pays off for the rest of these guys, as already this field is scattering throughout. You're seeing drivers go every which way. Seeing Zach Evans dive to the inside, Caleb Pecumer. He's got Jaden Racimus on his rear end. Chad in the middle, 3 wide. That's a bit of a shocker right there. As he's battling with Connor Thompson.
I hate when they make moves like that and they're already 3 looking to go 4, man. That always scares me.
There's certain parts of this racetrack that are definitely wide enough for that. On the straightaways, you could do it, but when you get into those corners, just the way that the banking works its way up, it's sweeping you up towards the outside as it is, and going 4 wide, it's not going to work out. As up front, now you're seeing those tires starting to fall. Josh Adams, Chris Wright, they're side by side for 4th and 5th. So Francis, Bourne, and Rawls have all cleared them into the top 3 as they work their way down the backstretch. The battle's about to be on for the top spot as Tom Bourne, one of those guys we pointed out earlier, up to the second spot, driving that number 61 machine. He's having himself a good run here so far.
Yeah, and unlike other trucks tonight, he's actually been able to put his truck in other lanes and make it work really well.
And I want to point something out here. We restarted a lap and a half ago, and Tate Lytle is up 13 positions since we dropped that green flag for the restart. This guy's insane. Like, the stuff that Tate can do absolutely blows your mind sometimes. He's up there currently in the 14th position. He's got Neil Rudd ahead of him, who, by the way, is having a very solid run here tonight. Neil up 12 positions. Tate up to the 13th spot. James Miller, Dustin Dorr, Donald Kite. He's in the 10th position, but he's done a really nice job holding on to those old tires. I don't like the strategy. I've been very clear on that from the first time we saw it, but still doing a nice job holding on here. He's got James Miller to his inside, and well, there's Tate as well. So Tate going to be in the top 10 here momentarily on new tires as he's slicing and dicing his way through. I do want to point out another driver. We talked about him much earlier on, Ty McIntosh. He is up to the 6th spot, just about to get into the top 5, and he started dead last here tonight. So the speed on that number 75 Shift Esports machine looking really, really solid as we are coming to just 25 laps to go here at Pocono. The tickers switched over. 25 to go. Joe Francis, Tom Bourne, Seth Rawls, Josh Adams, and Ty McIntosh, the top 5.
And going back to Ty, it's just been like a new he turned a new page, man, this season in the trucks. He really picked up his speed, been running really good. He's like a contender every single week we race on an oval. I really didn't pay much on the road course kind of stuff. William was teaching me the ways there. But everywhere else we've been, man, Ty's been quick everywhere.
Yeah, Ty's got some great pace, and that Shift Esports team, still a fairly new organization to Elite, but these guys have been working together for quite some time. Seth Rawls and Matthew Bayuk working and owning that team together. They've got some great drivers around them, Nick Indelicato, Gavin Hibbs, as well as Ty McIntosh. As Josh Adams coming down pit road, so the old tires, they've given up for Adams as he's on pit road now. Man, he's going to lose so much here coming down unless we get a caution in the next handful of laps, and it pays off for him. By the way, back up here towards the front, Chad Frankenfield up to the 5th spot now, getting by Gavin Higgins, as Higgins going to fall back into 6th. Shout out to Gavin, by the way, of course, last week's winner, but also recently making his real world racing debut, and I heard it was a pretty solid first start for him as well. So good to see our drivers going from sim to reality out there and putting on a good show.
Oh, yeah, man. Definitely always nice to hear about these guys. Get off the sim, go race a real car, and run good in it.
I mean, we see R.C. Anderson from time to time getting out there in NASCAR, IndyCar, just about anything he can, and he does a nice job. As Donald Kite taking it to pit road as well. Chris Wright probably going to come down soon, we'll imagine. But yeah, R.C. Anderson, the best representative here in Elite of that sim to reality world. But of course, Neil Rutt we've seen out there, Gavin Higgins, a couple other guys involved in pit crew capacities. Vincent Isabella, a good example of that with the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour, and a couple others racing in the real world. Brandon Ultra driving a late model out there. We've seen Aaron Plemons out here with us, and a bunch of other good guys. So cool to see as Tate Lytle now looking to get into the top 5 as he's up into the 6th position. Next car in line, Chad Frankenfield for Tate Lytle. So that 56 showing what new tires can do, and maybe showing some drivers that stayed out why they should regret their strategy. Here's Chris Wright coming down now, so that will bring an end to those drivers on the original tires here, as Wright, Kite, and Adams have all been down pit road. The battle for the race lead heating back up here. Joe Francis, Tom Bourne, Seth Rawls, the top 3, and the top 3 are currently all running together as they head down there between turns number 1 and 2 down the backstretch. You got Ty McIntosh leading that second grouping of Frankenfield, Lytle, and Higgins, and a bit of a gap back to James Miller, Jeff Green, and Connor Thompson. Thompson having a great run as well, up 18 spots, started in 28th.
And another thing that's going on, the guys that pitted, I think, lap 15 or something? I think some have stayed out from that, too. If those guys stayed out, they can't make it to the end. Then you have a handful of guys that pitted, lap 30-ish? That could possibly make it to the end. So the strategy is crazy tonight with how things have went.
Yeah, so you got 4 out of your top 5 that pit on lap number 13, and Chad Frankenfield that pit on lap number 26. So these guys, there's different strategies all throughout. We got 13, 18, 26, 30. It's pretty wild, the varying strategies that we've had here so far. Already coming to 20 to go as well, so not a ton of time left. 2/3 of this one in the books.
Yeah, I'd be worried about the guys that pitted lap 13 if this goes green, because the guys that stayed out and that just pitted are probably, with the tire advantage, are going to gap these guys that will have to pit.
You see in the pit strategy there, out of your top 8 on the right side of your screen, Joe Francis, Tom Bourne, Seth Rawls, as well as Ty McIntosh and Gavin Higgins on those older tires. The freshest tires of this group in order would be Tate Lytle with the freshest, followed by Chad Frankfield and James Miller, who are both about 4 laps older than that of Tate Lytle here with just 20 laps to go. Matt Grunberg, one of those guys we mentioned earlier on, having a really solid run. He's back in the 14th position, so he took fresh tires around the same time as Tate, actually 4 laps earlier. and has not been able to work his way up through. He's back there with Michael Hossack and Jaden Racemiths in the 15th position. Jordan McAvoy, a driver that is having a really good run here, almost hooked himself off of Frank Fode's nose right there, but he started at the tail, up 16 positions, currently running in the 18th spot, just behind Brent Jones and Michael Hossack as well, as Tate now closing in on Chad Frankenfield. That's going to be your battle for the 4th position here momentarily.
And I think if this goes green to the end, that's the race for the win right there between Chad and Tate.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Joe, Tom, and Seth are going to have to come down pit road if it stays green. That's a big if. Of course, we know how some of these races go, and you're going to have the likes of Josh Adams, Chris Wright, and Donald Kite racing through the field on fresh tires. They got a lot of work to do to get up there. They're about 30 seconds back, so they're going to need a bit of a miracle both to stay on lead lap and have an opportunity to work their way up through the field. But when they do, there's going to be that tire difference to keep in mind as well, as Tate has cleared Chad, now has the sights set on Seth Rawls for the 3rd spot. Tate going to go down to the inside as Neil Rutt going to come down pit road. So the number 11 of Rutt for South Shore Racing taking that visit to pit road, probably his last stop of the night. This is going to be stop number 2 for Rutt, so he'll still have a set sitting on pit road. Should a late caution come out, he'll have the opportunity to come back down and put some fresh rubber on that machine. As out front, it's still Joe Francis. The numbers by Joe 36 leading the way over Tom Bourne and Tate Lytle. Chad Frankenfield battling it out with Seth Rawls. That's the rest of the top 5, as Frankenfield and Rawls doing a bit of bump drafting here down the straightaway.
Oh yeah, that helps so much, having someone to push down the straight. You can really catch the guys in front of you doing that. Tate with the fresher tires, he just looks so locked in. I bet once that green flag went, he was like, I gotta go hard, I gotta go fast, get as much as I can.
Oh yeah.
Just in case.
No, and he's definitely done a really good job of that, working his way up to 3rd. Tom Bourne just ahead of him, and Joe Francis there as well. That right there is 17 laps difference in tires, though. So Lytle should be able to rapidly clear these guys momentarily as they work their way down the straightaway towards turn number 2. Lytle down on the inside, Bourne up on the high side as they're going to slide their way through. Joe Francis just ahead of him here. Lytle clears into 2nd. Bourne going to fall back to 3rd. Now Frankenfield going to be looking for that 3rd spot as he looks to the inside of Tom Bourne. Now Bourne up top, Frankenfield on the bottom. And as we work our way here to the start-finish line once again, oh no, Tom Bourne into the outside wall. And I think that car might have broke on him here, as he's going to lose a ton of positions. Tom Bourne back to the 9th spot. Was up in 3rd, and I'd expect him to visit pit road here shortly because he is well underpowered compared to the rest of the field. So Tom Bourne, major issues here, with just 16 laps to go, as Lytle going to close in on Joe Francis. Damn, that sucks.
Yeah, I think him and Chad got into it there, I think, a little bit out of 3, so
Neil Rutt back to pit lane, so a bit of an issue there for Rutt. And as we come off turn number 3, Weeks and I are going to step aside, and we're going to crank it up here at Pocono. And we're back here at Pocono. New leader, Tate Lytle. You saw it there in the Crank It Up segment of the show. Lytle able to clear Francis. Francis, he went for the jugular there as he got up to the rear end of the Tate Lytle machine and went for a bit of a ride. Tom Bourne, by the way, took it to pit road to repair that 61. He's working his way back out here now after what was a 36-second stop. So some damage on the 61 getting repaired here as we're quickly working our way towards that 10 to go mark. Tate Lytle, Joe Francis, James Miller, the top 3. Seth Rawls, Chad Frankenfield, the rest of your top 5. With Ty McIntosh, Gavin Higgins, Jeff Green, Matt Grunberg, and Dustin Dewar, the top 10. So Dewar having a really solid run. And hey, don't look now, Jordan McAvoy up to the 11th spot with Andrew Hardcastle behind him. So 2 of those underdogs just about to work their way into the top 10. We'll see if they can solidify some solid finishes here this afternoon as we see a tight battle back here. That's between Caleb Becumer, Matt Hackathorn, and Dylan Javier. That's for 17th, 18th, and 19th. Bit of bump drafting there, as you mentioned. Connor Thompson and Dylan Javier working together. You mentioned how beneficial that can be, so they're utilizing that even towards the rear of the field. So nice to see some sportsmanship going on, guys helping each other out as we jump up back to the battle for 4th. Frankfield and Rawls duking it out here. I think Frankfield has the advantage over Seth. They have a difference in tires of 13 laps, so that definitely coming into play as Connor Thompson losing a bunch of spots towards the rear. A lot of stuff going on here, and expect guys that pit on lap 13 to have to come to pit road at some point here. Coming to 12 to go. Guys up in the top 10 that need to come down soon. Joe Francis, Seth Rawls, as well as Ty McIntosh. Those guys should all be down pit road at some point soon, including Gavin Higgins as well, who currently sits in the 8th position as he's actually in a bit of a battle back here with Jeff Green. So Green 7th, Higgins 8th, and then a 3-truck tango between Grunberg, Dewar, and McAvoy. That's 9th, 10th, and 11th as they work their way down the back stretch. Out front, Tate Lytle still leads the way, coming to 11 to go.
Yep, the low lap pressure tires. I always say a little because we had a lot of caution laps right there. Is really coming into play later on in this run.
On that is we had the cautions to offset the difference a little bit, but those tires definitely still feeling the effects of the long run we've had here now. As you see Jeff Green, Gavin Higgins still battling it out down the front straightaway. Next time by, we'll be at 10 laps to go as we ride on board here with Tate Lytle in the number 56 RaceCPI.com Days Gone By Toyota Tundra for Pro Edge Racing. He's doing a great job here leading the way. We'll show you a lap on board with Lytle on somewhat newer tires, and then we'll jump back just behind him to Joe Francis and see the comparison in the steering wheel. That's right now really not too much of a difference. So Joe doing a nice job, just doesn't have the same pace that Tate does out front here. So not much battling of this race truck, but we'll see if he opts to come down pit road, or at this point, I guess you kind of want to wait it out and see if that caution flies as we hit the 10 lap to go mark. 10 laps remaining here at Pocono in the Pocono 150.
It looks like James Miller getting real close to Francis here, reeling him in little by little. I wonder if Chad got any damage with that thing with Tom Bourne or not, or he got out of that lucky. Seems to be doing all right.
He looks okay. Not really seeing any damage from the vantage point that we have. As I try to take a closer look. Nah, he looks okay. So I think more net code than anything, like you said. And one driver down pit road, Caleb Becumer. We saw him in an incident earlier on. He's taking his visit to the pit road, get some new tires, and work his way back out here as James Miller goes to the inside of Joe Francis. Move the Canadian driver up to the 2nd spot ahead of Joe as Joe falls back to 3rd. Chad going to try to reel them in, but they're going to bump draft down the front stretch. Joe Francis, James Miller duking it out here. Ty McIntosh going to come down pit road. So the first of our top 10 drivers to make their way to pit lane. as the Shift Esports Ford of McIntosh visits pit road, and he overshoots his box as well. Not what you want to do, especially on a green flag stop, but shout out to his sponsor, by the way, Weekend Woodsman. That's Tim Conrad and company. Do a great job over there. Check them out. As the Golden Brew Coffee Company, number 30, Connor Thompson visits pit lane. We see Caleb Pecumer and Ty McIntosh re-entering the racetrack as Tate trying to work his way to the 8 lap to go mark. He's got himself a great gap of 1.3 seconds over James Miller. Joe Francis another half second back as Joe gonna come down now. You saw him slow up there in turn number 3. He's gonna bring his teammate, or not his teammate here, but a teammate in another league, Seth Rawls, down pit road with him. Last week's winner, Gavin Higgins, coming down as well. Jaden Racimus gonna visit pit road. That might be a speeding penalty for Jaden. He kicked it sideways as he entered pit lane, but pit stops underway here for these drivers. We'll watch the battle for the 5th spot between Matt Grunberg and Dustin Dewar as they head down the backstretch. Dusty doing a great job here. Strategy working in his favor here tonight as Grunberg, Dewar, McAvoy, Hardcastle, and Norgard, as well as Zach Evans. That's the rest of your top 10 here, all chasing down Jeff Green, Chad Frankfield, James Miller, and Tate Lytle.
It's nice to see Dewar get a good run. I know he's been having internet issues here and there, and then some incidents, so it's good to have a good strong run by Dewar. Grunberg running good, trying to keep that points lead.
Another driver I'm honestly really happy to see having a good run here. Well, 2 of them. Andrew Hardcastle, one of those guys that he's trying so hard, trying to improve, trying to get himself in good spots to get good finishes, and something always seems to happen to him. But now running in the 8th spot, he's one of those guys that pit on 26, so he'll be okay to make it to the end. Doing a nice job, up 22 positions, so started 30th. Yes, there's strategy in that, but also he had to work his way by some good trucks. So good run for Andrew Hardcastle, and great run, by the way, as well for Zach Evans, who's up inside that top 10. Always good to see Zach up here. Of course, our ERN colleague from Wednesday nights over in the Belly Up Sports Cup Series. He works alongside Dave Huckleberry and Dave Westergreen, bringing us all the action each and every Wednesday night. As Tate just took 6 to go. Next time by, we'll get 5 fingers in the air with 5 laps to go. James Miller staying about 1.3 seconds back, and James has been quicker each of the last 4 laps. We'll see if he's got enough time to get up there and battle it out with Tate Lytle for the top spot.
Yeah, I wonder if James saved his tires a little bit beginning of the run while Tate was driving hard, trying to get the track position.
Yeah, definitely possible there. James Miller pit on lap number 26, so 4 lap older tires than Tate Lytle. Probably a lot less work he's had to do as well, working his way up through the field. Tate, of course, started nearly back in 30th on the restart after his pit stop, so good run here by both of these guys, as well as Chad Frankenfield up into 3rd. Chad nearly got caught up in a couple wrecks earlier on, but doing himself a nice job as, hey, Dustin Dewar has cleared Matt Grunberg, so move Dusty into the top 5 with 5 laps to go. Himself and Jeff Green, the 2 do-good entries in 4th and 5th, so good run here for the team co-owned by Dustin Dewar and Michael Goodman, currently running inside the top 5.
Oh yeah, and if I think Grunberg's going to try to push him up there with Jeff Green and see if they can all catch him.
We'll see how that works out here, as this one definitely closing up here rather quickly to these final few laps. 5 to go, coming to 4 this time for Tate Lytle as he's going to work his way off at turn number 3, headed down that front stretch. Miller has closed in a little bit, but not quite enough to really make a good run at it here with just 4 laps to go. Still at about 1.2 seconds back from Tate Lytle. Chad Frankenfield another 1.4 back. So at this point, your top 3, unless something crazy happens, looks pretty much locked into those spots that they're currently running. But of course, 3.5 laps is a long way to go.
Yep, and you never know what can happen. Anything can happen.
No, you're
Yeah, he's
absolutely
staying
right.
even with him. He gained a little bit right there at a turn 1. If he can just get to that second mark and just start getting that draft, I think he'll start reeling him in.
That's it. I think if he can get that draft, get into that bubble that Tate currently has, that would definitely help James Miller. He's about 1.2 back. We'll see what he can do off of turn number 3 here. Miller goes up to the high side. I think he's going to lose a little bit as we're coming to 3 to go. This time by James Miller, still a bit quicker than Lytle. He's just running out of time. He needs to gain more. He needs to gain at least 2/10 this lap. He needs to get to that 1 second mark if he wants an opportunity to get up there to Tate. Tate's got some trucks up the road. I don't think they're going to come into play because they should be on much fresher tires. Should have a bit of an advantage here, but the last thing Tate wants to see as well is a yellow flag with just over 2 laps to go in this one. We're going to work our way towards turn number 3 this time, and when he comes off of 3, that's when popsicle sticks will go up in the air, indicating 2 laps remaining. And James Miller definitely going to be out of time there, as he's going to stay at about 1.2 seconds as they come off of turn number 3.
Good lead. It's just staying even. Their trucks are too even. Yeah, I don't think he's going to be able to get to him. He has to get a lot of time out of turn 1.
He's going to have to throw it in. He's going to have to throw it in there, but I just don't think that's going to work because it's going to push too much on exit at this point if he does throw it in deep. He might be closing enough here, though, to maybe get within a second coming to 1 to go, but that's going to need to be a monstrous final lap for James Miller as he's at that 1 second mark now. We'll see what he can do. He might have something in this closing lap. I just feel like Tate is too far ahead for James to really close in too much here, but you never know with that draft. Draft can definitely come into play here as we are coming to the 1 to go mark, sponsored by Whiplash Sim Cams. Tate Lytle down the front straightaway, white flag in the air, 1 lap to go here, sponsored by Whiplash Sim Cams. Tate Lytle in the 56 leads. You see James Miller just behind him, 0.8 of a second separating first and second here as Lytle works his way through turn number 1. James Miller not quite close enough to get the draft off of that Tate Lytle machine as they head down between turns number 1 and 2, coming to turn number 2 for the final time. Lytle, Miller, Frankenfield, Green, and Dewar the top 5. This is your battle for 5th. We'll keep an eye on this just for a moment as Grunberg on the inside of Dewar, Jordan McAvoy just behind, but back up front into turn number 3 for the final time. It's going to be Tate Lytle working his way through the final corner off of turn number 3, headed down the front straightaway. It's going to be checkered flag here for the days gone by. Number 56 of Tate Lytle. Lytle wins at Pocono. James Miller second. Chad Frankenfield going to round out the podium. Jeff Green and Jordan McAvoy going to round out the top 5. Gruenberg, Hardcastle, Norgard, Frank Fody, and Matt Hackathorn going to round out the top 10. Dustin Dewar on the last lap had an issue there with Gruenberg. We'll see what happened to Dewar. Oh man, Gruenberg gets into the left rear of Dewar. Dewar going to go around into the inside wall, relegated from what was a top 5 run, and he's going to come home in 18th as Tate Lytle works his way towards winner's circle. We're going to step away for one final time. When we come back, we'll go through your race results and talk to your top 3 finishers, Tate Lytle, James Miller, and Chad Frankenfield. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
years of sellout crowds, 3 years of edge-of-your-seat action, 3 years of jaw-dropping finishes. Worldwide Technology Raceway has rocked the world of NASCAR, and now NASCAR is giving us another reason to celebrate. The 2025 NASCAR Cup Series Championship playoffs are coming. Sunday, September 7th, 2025. Just when you thought the racing couldn't get any more intense, now every single lap matters. One wrong move could be the difference between elimination and being crowned the king. The Enjoy Illinois 300, the Confluence Music Festival, the NASCAR Cup Series playoffs, and for the first time in 15 years, the NASCAR Xfinity Series on Saturday, September 6th. Don't be on the outside looking in. See history being made in your own backyard. Go to www.raceway.com for the hottest ticket of the year.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
And we are back here at Pocono, just wrapping up tonight's Pocono 150. Looks like we got James Miller hanging out in the waiting room. James, it's Robert up in the booth. You get a copy. A solid second place run here tonight. What more did you need to get up there and pass that 56 to Tate Lytle?
Time I could get some momentum going. So probably just a little earlier momentum probably would have helped, but we were gaining a little. I mean, obviously everyone would say, you know, oh, I just need a couple more laps, but you know, I should have just been a little more aggressive at the start, but I didn't think it would go green the whole way, honestly.
Now, from the driver's seat, how was the race as a whole? Did you find it challenging to work the strategies here tonight? We saw stuff all over the board, from guys that didn't pit for the entire first half to guys that used up every single set of tires seemingly in the first half of the race.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't expect the tire difference to be that bad after the second caution because we really didn't race that hard, especially with the first caution coming out so soon. So that was a little surprising, but then it kind of evened out. It wasn't too bad. And I guess I'm surprised as many people stayed out just before the halfway point as they did, because we were plenty good for fuel when we pitted before halfway. So I'm not sure really why that strat was the way it was, but I'm sure those who did it had their own ideas and plans. Might have worked out a different way.
Of course, they always seem to have a reason. It might not make sense to us, but hey, it is what it is. And looking at the points, you currently sit in the 9th position. You got the win earlier this season at Gateway, and now with just 2 races remaining before the playoffs, Stafford and Talladega. What's your outlook for those playoffs? Do you think you got something and you can maybe contend for the title?
I mean, I always think, you know, go in and win all these races, but I really haven't had the results to show. So it's nice to get the second place and have a good day. But Stafford's gonna be tough, just kind of how Martinsville went. And then Dega's, you know, a you know what shoot. So we'll see. I'm not sure. I don't quite remember exactly what the playoff schedule's looking like, but I'm sure we'll do okay. Feel pretty competitive day in, day out. Just need to get the good strategy and have a good, clean race.
Well, I can actually give you that playoff schedule. It's Bristol, Charlotte, and Nashville Superspeedway in that first round, and then the finale comes up at Las Vegas to wrap up the season. So,
Okay, yeah,
not too bad.
That sounds good.
Well, before we let you go here, James, any sponsors you want to thank, shout-outs you want to give?
Yeah, just a huge shout out to the AVPW team for their finishes. I know Jordan got a 5th or top 5 after missing the grid. That's huge. Matt with his 6th behind him, and Hack and Randy also did really good. So just proud of those guys and happy to race with them.
Well, congratulations on a solid second place run here tonight, James, and we'll see you next week as we head to the penultimate round of the regular season.
All right, thank you.
That was James Miller, your second place driver here tonight. And now standing in victory lane, it's our very own Matthew Weeks with Tate Lytle.
Good win tonight, Tate. When it got to that, before you started that long run, did you think there was going to be more cautions?
Yeah, I did, but I also knew I could make it on fuel from there, and I thought that Chad and them would be close, which they probably were, but I felt like that was going to be my best option. I was probably only going to run about 6 or 7 laps right there, and then pit and hope to find a caution and just stay out. But it worked out how it was supposed to, I guess, and it was fun coming through the field. And I knew it was going to be tough to get past James and Chad. And there at the end, I was trying to just manage it the best I could. James was pretty similar pace wise, but I figured as long as I can keep him out of the draft, I wouldn't really have to worry too much.
Right. How did the truck feel tonight? Was it tight, a little loose?
It was a little squirrely on cold tires, but it was kind of tight there toward the end. I got tight off a 3 with probably 10 to go and had to lift and lost a couple tenths, and it took me 3 or 4 laps to cool them back off. But yeah, it worked out. I enjoy running the truck, and Pocono's a fun track, so glad we were able to go green.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Like I said, I'm biased. I picked you to win tonight just because you know you're my homie and my teammate. I knew you'd be fast. Good stuff tonight. You're quick. I knew once you started back there, you're gonna drive hard to get that lead, man. I know how you do it. Good stuff tonight. Any shout outs you want to give?
Yeah, shout out to Brent Wentz. Days gone by. Not sure if Dad's watching, but shout out to Dad, Jack, Louise, Lowe, and the fam. So I'm not sure if they're watching or not, but if you are, I'm glad I was able to get a win for you guys. And yeah, hopefully we can continue this Monday and Wednesday.
Yeah, man. Well, good stuff tonight as usual. I'll see you on track tomorrow night.
Sounds good.
That was Tate Lytle in victory lane, and we'll take a look at the finishing results here tonight. On your screen now, Tate Lytle, James Miller, Chad Frankenfield, Jeff Green, Jordan McAvoy, the top 5. Matt Gruberg, Andrew Hardcastle, Leighton Norgard, Frank Fody, Matt Hackathorn, the top 10. As you'll see the rest of your field sliding on by, we'll go ahead and get some final thoughts here from Matthew Weeks. Matthew, what's your final thoughts after what was a good race here tonight at Pocono?
I thought it was good. It seems to be a big netcode issue going around on iRacing right now, so that brought out some yellows tonight, which sucked. But all in all, it was a good race. Good long run with a little mix of strategy, made it very interesting right there at the end. And I bet a lot of these guys are happy a guy that's not racing for points won tonight.
Yeah, no, definitely not bad when someone comes in and can't really steal that spot from you. Taking the win tonight, Tate Lytle. Of course, we'll be back next Sunday night from the Stafford Motor Speedway. 150 laps there. Only 75 miles, so a pretty short race. But the next broadcast for the Elite Racing Network will come tomorrow night in the Robiles Photography Grand National Series from North Wilkesboro Speedway. 150 laps there. We'll see if they can stay green. It's going to be a tough one, but should be a good show nonetheless. But on behalf of Matthew Weeks, Dave Huckleberry, Chad Frankfield, all the admins here at the Elite Racing League, my name is Robert Hill Jr. Thanks for joining us here tonight, and we'll see you next time.